All right. So when I shouted stop, you you felt a variety of different things in your body. You had thoughts about it, and then you had an emotional response to both the thoughts and what was going on in your body. And that pretty much are the three components of our body's stress response. It's the physiological response, it's the mental response in the terms of what we're thinking, and then it's an emotional response in terms of how we feel. And all those responses, of course, are very unique and individualized. It depends on our history, on how stressed we are at a given point, or how relaxed we are. And then, of course, there's some genetic predisposition to our reactions. Let's talk a little bit about what this looks like in our day-to-day lives. One, you could take it. Let's just take a generic example of someone who works, has a job, has a family, struggles financially, commutes to work, and um, of course has to come home and be a mother or a father. And if you think about that, right, that this person goes to work and they work, and at work there's stressors. It may be a stressor of a boss who expects certain things. It may be a stressor of a deadline, or maybe a financial goal to meet. But all there's things that are happening in life that put expectations on us, and that we have to perform around. And each of those actions has the potential to trigger this stress response. And then say, finances might be an issue, and the person may have to, he or she may be struggling, and every time they spend money, they may think, wow, I have to be careful with finances. And then that thought that I have to be careful with finances might trigger a stress response. And then they might come home, and the kids might be screaming, and the kids screaming might trigger a stress response. And then on the way home, they may have been in traffic, and honking and lots of loud noise may have triggered a stress response. So in our modern day lives, there's lots of stimuli out there that has the potential to trigger a stress response. And what I'd like you to focus on, though, is the fact that those things are going to happen in life without a doubt, and your stress response is going to become triggered. What happens, though, is that when our stress response becomes triggered, we don't give it an opportunity to we don't give our bodies an opportunity to relax. And there's actually two systems. There's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. The sympathetic system in our body activates that stress response and allows us to be alert, attentive, and at our best. And then the parasympathetic system turns that all off and brings us back to a state of rest, so that the rest of our body gets the necessary resources that we need to live and survive. In this course, what we're going to really focus on is how that process happens. And one of the key things that happens is that our thoughts about what is happening triggers the stress response and continues to activate the stress response when in fact there's no danger. So let's say you're in traffic, and the person in front of you comes to a screeching halt, and your body tenses, your stress response gets activated, and you perform, and you don't get into an accident. Well, in the way our body's designed is for then our our parasympathetic nervous system to kick in and relax our bodies again. But what I might be thinking is, what an idiot that guy was in front of me to screech to a halt in the middle of the freeway. And then I might say, wow, well, I don't know why he did that. That was really dangerous. And I might get into a series of thoughts about what just happened that extends that stress response. So it's really at the level of the thoughts and our reactions to the stressful events that we're going to be focusing this course. So I'd like you to begin to think about how you react to stressful events and what thoughts you have in that regard. One thing we didn't talk about that's going to be important to talk about is the benefits of stress. Stress is incredibly important. It allows us to perform well at our jobs, to perform well as parents, to perform well in relationships. It really keeps us at our peak performance. And if you imagine a curve where optimum stress performance is up here, that's the optimum stress level allows for the optimum performance. So, but what happens is if we become too stressed, then our performance starts to go down. So we're not talking about not having any stress in your life. I think we all can relate to, that extra shot of adrenaline when it came to that particular test in high school or college, or in passing some big exam, or learning, maybe the driver's test. We can all relate to how that shot of adrenaline really allowed us to focus and do better. It's when that shot of adrenaline is constantly activated that that system becomes overstressed. And one of the key factors in keeping that system activated is how we think about stressful events.